Dear friend, the wedding has been over for a few days now, and we've finished cleanup and life has gone back to normal. I wanted to take a moment, though, to tell you the story of another traveler I met over these past few days. A good doctor who carried a burdened past, but who I think has the potential to do a tremendous amount of good in this world. The Inn at the Edge of Greenwood, Chapter 9, The Burden of Knowledge. There is a lot of commotion going on in this tiny, almost nothing of a town that you find yourself walking into. And there are people going all back and forth. This small town that you didn't catch a sign to give any sort of name or indicator of where you were at. But people are moving things back and forth and carrying large loads of wood and just all sorts of commotion you're not sure what quite for. As you look around, there's a couple folks who look at you and kind of give you a nod and say hello. And one older woman with gray hair and a little bit of a hunch to her posture sees you and says, "Excuse me, are you new to the town?"
Yes, I am. Hello, nice to meet you there. I'm a doctor, you see. Well, not that kind of doctor, but, well, yes, that kind of doctor, but it's a little complicated. Anyway, I've just come here, for reasons, honestly, not worth getting into. I'm getting ahead of myself. Sorry,
all right, well,
where is this?
Son, and she kind of grabs you by the shoulders and pulls you to the side as someone goes whizzing by with like a big basket. They couldn't even see you because it's covering their face. She's like, "Son, you should probably make your way up to the inn. You're going to, well, no offense, get trampled. Otherwise, there's a lot going on."
Yes, no offense taken. I am not built for this kind of hustle and bustle.
Right, well, right up there. And she points up to a little bit of a hill where you're surprised you didn't really clock it before because it stands almost solitary up on this hill, this large inn.
Well, thank you very much, ma'am. I'll make my way up to this inn. Let's hope I don't get trampled along the way.
And she kind of, all right, be careful. And she moves along after pointing you in a direction. You duck and dodge a couple of people who, again, didn't see you coming through. There's a lot of big folk walking around, and it's interesting because most of the people that you have run across in your short time in this land have been halflings, gnomes, smaller folks, but a lot of big folk in the town today, and they are not necessarily being as courteous as they should to one of your stature. You do eventually make your way up to the inn itself. There's a ramp that leads up to the doorway, and over the top, you just see a small little wooden sign with a green pine tree painted on it. No words.
Quaint. I'll head on in.
Okay. You open the door, and immediately have to duck and dodge out of the way as someone comes barreling through. A young woman holding a crate that you can hear chickens squawking from. And she says, "Oh, I'm so sorry, excuse me." And heads on
It's
out.
quite all right. Just watch where you're going next time.
Inside, you see people moving tables and chairs. They are rearranging things and starting to string up cloth in almost like banner drapings along the walls of everything, and you see a young man with brown hair and friendly face wearing an apron and plain clothes underneath, and he's kind of giving out directions. He's like, "Right, we need 7 tables over there. I need you to get the decorations up, and the fireplace has to be clean before tonight."
Excuse me.
Oh, yes, my apologies. One moment. Also, if we can't get a place for the chickens figured out, then I hate to do it, but put them in the stables. And then he turns back towards you. "Oh, I apologize. It's a busy day here. Welcome." He extends a hand out towards you.
Oh, I shake his hand. I guess take off my glove that I've been wearing and reach out and shake his hand. I say, I'm ever so sorry to interrupt. I wanted to ask, what exactly seems to be going on here?
Oh,
Seems very busy.
It is very busy. There's a wedding tonight. One of the first that we've had in quite some time.
A wedding of some of the bigger people, I'm guessing.
Yes, it is. Yeah, sorry about that. There's a lot more of us tall folk here than there normally is.
Yes, I must say, the people around here don't seem to be from around here in the sense that they don't seem to have the same level of consideration
Well,
for one not quite so blessed with stature.
A lot of them come up from Trawbridge, and I'm not sure if you're aware, but Trawbridge is more folks my size, and
Right.
I don't think the habits are quite there to watch the step. But can I get you? Are you here traveling? Can I get you a room or anything?
Oh yes. I'm removing my glasses and like unfogging them. Now that I've come in from the cold. I say, yes, I would absolutely love a room. It's very cold outside, and if you have any room available, I would love a warm glass of milk.
Warm glass of milk. Sure, I could get that. Give me one moment. And he kind of heads back into a kitchen area. As you survey the inn itself now, you see there's a large L-shaped bar on the right-hand side of the room. On the left-hand side is this big open area where people are moving tables and setting things up. They're beginning to set up a center table for a cake as well. Big fireplace over there. And then the kitchen is kind of off behind the bar on the right-hand side. There's also a staircase sort of in the middle of the room, or in the middle of the wall opposite of the door, that leads up to the next floor.
I'm going to head over to the bar to try and get out of everybody's way as much as possible.
Sure. So you sit down, and it's actually interesting. It's a human-sized bar, but all the stools have multiple steps for small folk to be able to get up to them with ease.
Very considerate.
You look around and you notice that the inn itself seems to be built in a way that is accommodating to people of varying statures and sizes, whether that's the size of the steps or the presence of steps or ramps around. And after a moment, the innkeeper comes back out. He's got a mug, and you can see a little bit of steam coming out the top of it, and there's a little bit of froth on top. He's like, it may have frothed up a little bit more than I expected, but warm milk. Sets it down for you.
Thank you, and don't worry, a little froth never bothered me. It's the frost that bothers me.
Well, fair enough. Real quick, and he reaches down to a book, pulls out a key. Room number 11, up top. Believe it or not, there's not a lot of these folks staying in the inn tonight, so hopefully after the festivities die down, it'll actually be quiet.
Oh, wonderful. Tell me, how much do I owe you?
Oh, the room will be a silver piece for the evening, and if you want to open a tab for food and drink.
Absolutely, yes. Well, I hand over the silver piece after digging through. I came in here wearing a big traveling pack over which over my clothes and body I'd sort of draped a blanket. Because I didn't really bring much in the way of winter gear. It's more like I'm just fully walking through, looking like some kind of Slavic grandmother, all just bundled up. And I've taken the pack off and set the I folded the blanket and set it on top, and I go through my pockets, find where I'd kept my wallet. My little wallet purse of holding, and then I pull out a silver piece and hand it over with a smile. A polite smile, I should say.
He takes it and looks at it, and he goes, I'm not familiar with... I mean, silver's silver, but I'm not familiar with this design. Where do you hail from?
Oh, far from here. It's originally born in a small town called Goodbody. You probably haven't heard of it.
I haven't, actually.
Yes.
Well, can I get a name for the room? And he goes back to his ledger.
Yes, Dr. Lamond Bonnydock.
Okay. He checks with you how you spell it, gets that confirmed.
Yes, that's Lamond Bonnydock.
Perfect.
And doctor spelled either DR period or DOCTOR, whichever you prefer.
Which do you prefer?
Honestly, I can go either way.
Sure, we'll go shorthand. Doctor, DR, period. Tell me, what are you a doctor of, if you don't mind my asking?
Well, It's a little complicated to explain. I suppose the short answer would be medicine, but that doesn't really capture the full scope, you see, of my studies. Tell me, are you familiar with the arts of biomagical augmentation?
He kind of gives you like deer in the headlights glazed over stare. He's like, no, I'm afraid I'm not. No, sorry.
It's a new field. It's completely understandable.
Okay.
A relatively new field, you see. The basic idea is to use magic, the forces of magic, in order to help augment, improve living systems, which is to say, people and animals and plants and all sorts of things, using magic to make them better, or their lives better, ideally.
So, I guess I'm a little confused. I mean, kind of looks around. He does the kind of thing where he like checks to see that no one's watching, and then he like snaps his fingers, and you see the milk in your cup kind of froth up a little bit more. Sorry, it's a new trick. I mean, in such ways, we use magic to make life easier every day. How is that?
Yes.
So are you an arcanist then, a spellcaster?
Well, yes, among other, more of a spell tinkerer, really. You see, you are able to channel magic to perform specific feats, yes?
Well, a couple, yeah.
Okay, but what if you didn't have to actively channel the magic? You see? What if the ability, the magic, just resided inside of you, and you could do it as easily as reaching out your hand? You wouldn't have to, I assume, of course, assumption is always risky, but I assume that you gained this power through some outside source.
Yeah, I was given a scroll.
Ah, okay. See, you gained it from this scroll.
Right.
But in order to operate this scroll properly, or gain this information, you had to study the scroll, you had to read the scroll, you had to know what language the scroll was written, you had to be intelligent enough to be able to grasp the teachings that the scroll was trying to give you, and on top of that, you had to be given the scroll. Now,
Right.
see, what if you simply were born with this ability?
Wow, that would be something.
Yes, and that's the kind of thing that I'm interested in doing, making it possible for people to, even if they're not necessarily born with magical abilities, to have magical abilities that make their lives better. You see, have you ever met someone who was, for instance, sight impaired or hearing impaired?
Well, yes, often.
Yes, well, imagine, you may not know this, I have done extensive studies, I know that these things are not necessarily commonly known, but there are spells, there are magical discoveries which have been made, which enable a person to see without the use of their eyes, or to hear without the use of their ears. Now, what if we were able to bestow these abilities in a permanent sense upon people who already struggle with those senses?
Kind of gives you a look. That would be miraculous.
It would change the world! It doesn't stop there. I'm sure you've met people who perhaps are, for whatever reason, missing limbs or appendages.
Well, of course.
Well, there are not only magical ways of regrowing said appendages where they lost through some sort of mishap, but there are also methods of creating magical items which can be attached to the person, so that the person can use those magical items as though they were the limb or appendage that the person was missing.
That would be... I mean, the amount of people you could help.
Yes, and it doesn't even stop there. I'm sure that in a community like this, I'm sure you sometimes will have farmers having difficulties with their crops from time to time. Parasites. Often. Yes, exactly. Now, imagine if you were able to magically augment your crops so that they were able to produce more. That you could enrich the soil in the area so that it is always fertile. You could till the soil year round. You could even, well, this is getting out of the realm of biomagical augmentation and into more the realm of I suppose, magic chemical tinkering, but there are spells which even allow one to affect the weather and the elements, but even aside from all that, you could improve your crops. You could improve not only the quality of the crops and the size of the yields and the hardiness of the crops, but you can also improve the livestock. The possibilities are endless, as far as I'm concerned. By this point, Dr. Lamond is fully standing up on the chair, like leaning over, like gesticulating wildly as he says all of this.
Yeah, and he's caught the attention of, you notice that the hustle and bustle, the loud noises have started to really die down as you take a breath and look around, and the whole place is watching you.
Hello?
That's remarkable. Back to work, everyone, please. We've got a lot to do before tonight.
Sorry, as you were.
Well,
I sit back down.
he kind of leans back, and you see a hand go down to his right knee and kind of just rub it a little bit. And then he kind of stands up and says, I would love to hear more about your work. This is fascinating. Unfortunately, there's still much to do and prepare for tonight. If I can get you anything else to eat or drink, just flag me down. But gotta get back to it.
Certainly. First things first, of course.
Okay. And he heads out, and you see him kind of working around the area and everything. They continue to set things up. Tablecloths are brought out. A roast is put on the fireplace and begun. It smells wonderful. And the rest of the decorations are put together. It's a lot of evergreens and almost what we would consider more Christmassy type decorations to match the cold weather that has sprung up here. But holly berries and evergreens and garlands and cloths all where very soon this nice but plain and quaint inn is transformed into a place with a little more color, a little more life as preparations are made. And then folks leave. Pretty much everybody files out as they head off to the ceremony. And you see the innkeeper kind of walking around, straightening things. He seems to be doing the whole thing where, like, every fork must be lined just so, and, you know, adjusting things that truly don't need to be adjusted, but keeping his hands busy. And he sees you sitting at the bar still, I assume.
A man after my own heart. Yes, I'm still very much at the bar. I'm just watching the proceedings. It's fascinating. It's always great to experience new cultures and get to understand how different people celebrate joyous occasions such as a wedding.
Well, it's been a hard autumn, and it's been a while since we've had a wedding, and I think people are looking for the excuse to celebrate.
Well, hopefully this is a sign that you're turning the corner.
I hope so. Oh, he kind of leans back against one of the larger leather chairs that's over by the fireplace and kind of surveys everything, goes, it's about as good as it's going to be, isn't it?
Well, if by immaculately spotless and well organized you mean as good as it could be, yes, sure.
I've gotten a little too accustomed to, and he snaps his fingers again, and you see a couple things straighten. And he goes, gotten a little too accustomed to that. I wanted to, I don't know, do it on my own this time.
Yeah, well, sometimes one can become over-reliant on magical abilities. It is best to keep one's hands and body busy, I find.
I agree. So tell me, where you're from, is everybody magical? Are all these things you speak of commonplace? Do the crops grow year-round?
Oh, well, you see, it's much of this is still very theoretical. Look, I'm doing research into it overall, but it was still a long way off from being put into practice. Through my research, I've become aware of many spells, which, if properly harnessed, could be used for some of these purposes, but yes, it's a long way away from being integrated, and certainly not in the town of Goodbody, I can tell you that.
Well, are they not receptive to the work?
Well, not unreceptive, just not really. It's just not really the vibe, as the kids say these days. They don't. It's a very provincial sort of pastoral town. You see, not really a lot of big ideas going on there. Most people are very content to live and die in the town of Goodbody. Now, they're not unfriendly, of course, but it's mostly a gnome town, mostly. But we are very hospitable, but we certainly are not a technologically minded society.
Oh, no, it sounds... He kind of waves around, kind of out generally towards the village. It sounds pretty familiar.
Yeah, I thought it might.
I born and raised here, and I had my thoughts of leaving, but I decided to stick around, and many folks do, but it's good when some people do branch out and find the world beyond. Not everyone should stay where they were born.
Well, it can be difficult to resist the pull of a beloved childhood home.
It's a good point. It's there's a gravity to it.
Yes. Yes, there really is.
So where are you going? Where are you being pulled to?
Oh, well, not Goodbody, unfortunately, although it would be nice, I suppose, to visit again. No, I've got sort of I'm a bit of a wander, you see, gathering information and that sort of thing. You see, I left Goodbody a long time ago and went to university, graduated from Darnell University at a very, very young age. I was the youngest doctor ever to graduate from Darnell University.
Wow.
But yes, age of 22. and I taught at the university for a short time. Yes, blah, 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 and I've been traveling ever since. Tell me, this seems to be, normally a more peaceful location, yes?
Oh, yes, there's there's the odd wolf or two that comes through, but we haven't seen any disturbances in quite some time.
Well, excellent. Have you heard of any nearby disturbances in towns?
He kind of gets a little more serious and walks kind of your direction as he's talking, just kind of slowly. Well, not nearby, but in the south of the kingdom, there have been reports of quite amazing going on. Abyssal cracks, opening in the ground. There's been goblin raids over in Drewcaster. Luckily, we're far enough north that some of those things haven't affected us, but yeah, we've heard of things.
Well, I just wanted to make sure. You see, as part of my work, seeking to improve people's lives, I do try to find out if there's anything I can help solve with my abilities in any given region which I find myself. It sounds as though the south is the place to go, though, especially weather-wise, I imagine.
Oh, you'll be a little warmer for sure, and if you want danger, the south is the direction to go. Though you might try Innaport as well, over to the west. It's there's a lot of trade that goes through there, and I'm sure there's folks who need a good doctor.
Yes.
You remind me of another doctor that came through here a long time ago. They were very curious of everything around the world themselves and just trying to find answers to questions that I don't even think they knew what the real question were.
Yes, I know that feeling. It can be quite a dilemma.
So what did you do after you taught?
I look around the room. Is it pretty much just me and the bartender at this point?
At this point, it's you and the innkeeper. You do hear and see every once in a while an elderly woman who's working back in the kitchen. And at one point, the door does open, and someone kind of like dashes in real quick and like grabs like a coat they forgot. But yeah, there's no one else actively working in the room.
Tell me, are you familiar with the Tundra Bluff Corporation?
Well, no, I've never heard of them.
Oh, Well, excellent. Frankly, it's really for the best. You see, after graduating from university, I sought the opportunity to well, not only put my theories into practice, but also to get the opportunity to research and develop new theories and gain new information. And well, where I come from, the best place to do that is actually not in education, where they do have resources that you might not be able to get at other places, but it's really the Tundra Bluff Corporation was where it was at for me.
Oh.
You see, they have the best biomagical scientists and research centers of any place around, and so I knew that I needed to be there. And, well, I graduated at the age of 22, the youngest doctor in the history of the university, in one of the finest universities in all the land. So getting a job there was not too difficult, especially not after I had 2 years of teaching under my belt. So I started working for the Tundra Bluff Corporation, and initially I was working, just doing basic research in the labs, you see, not really much hands-on work with any actual patients or subjects, as the case may be, but I made some truly astonishing discoveries and learning there. It was a magical time in many ways. And if only it could have lasted longer.
Why didn't it?
Well, I suppose all good things must come to an end. I was promoted, you see, and then promoted again, and then promoted again until I was promoted right out of my laboratory. Getting these accents mixed from my travels. I eventually was promoted to a position where I was able to work with patients, you see, and well, that's when I learned what the Tundra Bluff Corporation was really doing.
Oh, no.
Well, yes, I suppose really patience is a disingenuous term in this context. It really should be subjects, or even victims, I suppose. As it turns out, the people who I thought were voluntary test subjects and people who were in need of assistance and augmentation that only the Tundra Bluff Corporation could provide were, in fact, not voluntary prisoners who were being collected and experimented upon. I won't go into the details, but suffice it to say, all manner of horrors were being inflicted upon these people, and all manner of horrors is what they were made to become. Tell me, have you ever heard of an owl bear?
Oh, yes, we have them.
Yes, okay. Well, owl bears, as you know, well, as you may know, I'm sure, originally come from the Feywild, is what many theories state. The magical, chaotic energy that exists in that alternate plane somehow caused a fusion of owls and bears into one quite impressive creature, truly magnificent. Well, imagine that, but instead of two creatures simply being swept along by the chaotic winds of magical fate, they imagine a person. Imagine a child. Imagine a vagrant. Someone who had no way of saying yes or no to such a procedure or process being combined with something entirely inhuman. Are you familiar with aberrations at all?
Oh, I'm, yes, familiar with the term.
Yes. Well, I hope you don't have too much specific knowledge, because they are truly something else, and so, something that never should be combined with a person, a non-aberration. It does not stop there. I won't go into too much more detail about it, but suffice it to say, I could not, in good conscience, continue to contribute to such a place. And all of this was being done in the interest of not improving the lives of regular citizens, which I wouldn't consider it a proper defense, but as at least some sort of semi-positive reasoning for committing such atrocities. But they were doing it in order to create weapons. They were being sold to other countries, other kingdoms, for use in their military, as they were being sold to the wealthy as guard animals. It's the evil that was being done there truly boggles the mind. And so, as I said, I simply couldn't allow this to continue. And so, it was with a heavy heart that I decided to leave.
Did you stop what they were doing?
Well, and the doctor leans in. I did what I could. You said you have never heard of the Tundra Bluff Corporation, yes?
Oh, no, never.
Well, if anyone ever asks, you still haven't heard of the Tundra Bluff Corporation.
Oh.
And you, in fact, perhaps it's best, is there a way, perhaps, to change my name in the ledger?
He kind of opens it up and snaps his fingers, and you see the name into a different...
Thank you. Yes, I'm not used to this, being on the run, cloak and dagger, skullduggery business, but look, what I did was I released as many of the victims as I could, staged a mass breakout, you understand. I overloaded their systems, as it were, their security systems, and staged a mass breakout, and I don't know where all of the victims fled to. From what I can tell, they scattered and have been in hiding in various places around the world ever since. And, well, I'm not just traveling aimlessly, you see. I'm trying to find them. I'm trying to find at least one of them, so that I can do what I can to help them and improve their shattered existence, and maybe even give them a chance to rejoin society, if possible. What was taken from these people was beyond imagining, and I just hope that I can atone for the contributions I made to their predicament by helping to ease their suffering.
He kind of sits back and strokes his chin a little bit. And he reaches back and grabs a bottle of some liquor and pours a small glass and looks at you. What's your preference?
Well, I'm really more of a water and warm milk man myself.
No, that's fair. Can I get you another?
Absolutely. I never say no to a warm milk.
He comes back pretty quickly with another mug and kind of toasts with you with his liquor.
I give a very sad toast. Just like the saddest clink. And then the foam is definitely like foaming up over my mustache.
I love it. And he kind of sips his drink and then looks at you and goes, I find it interesting that even after everything that you saw, the passion with which you speak of this field of study and the good it could do, you still believe in it.
Oh, absolutely. What those people were doing there was an abomination. The Tundra Buff Corporation deserves to burn to the ground for the horrors they have committed, but that does not in any way mean that good cannot come from this sort of research. Not this kind of vile experimentation, but proper, scientific, orderly, ethical research done to improve the lives of people everywhere.
Well, what do you do if another Tundra Bluff comes along?
Well, I suppose you'd have to stop them.
It's funny that so often we think of heroes as those who slay monsters and rescue kingdoms from attack, and yet he kind of looks at you and chuckles. Here you are, my friend. Here's to you and your heroics.
Well, thank you. I don't know that I'm comfortable being called a hero. If anything, I'm just trying to set right what was set wrong in the first place.
He reaches over and grabs a scrap of paper and a quill. And you see him jot something on it and fold the paper in half and slide it to you. And before he takes his hand off of it, he says, I don't know how long you're going to be in this land, but if it's for a time, this is someone you might want to happen across, who I think if I know anything about him at all, he could provide some aid. And he kind of moves his hand and leaves the scrap of paper.
I like in a full like in the style that of somebody who's at like a drug deal but they've never done a drug deal before. They just kind of like are imagining what it is, like just fully looking around the room, making sure nobody's looking as I reach very
There's literally
slowly
no one else
over.
in the room as you do this.
If there was, I would look so suspicious. Just reaching very slowly across the table, just looking all around to make sure. As I like put my hand down, realize I put it in the wrong spot, and then like awkwardly slide it onto the paper, and then slide it back across the table, getting a small splinter. I'm like,
Oh, you're right there. Ooh.
Yes, I'm quite all right. I'm quite all right, thank you. It's just a little splinter. Ooh.
I just pull it out and like look at the. I look at what's on the paper.
Okay. There's a name written there.
I nod thoughtfully, mutter,
Hokey Muckrib.
as I like again very like super spy style slide the paper into my trouser pocket. No, I'm sliding it into my breast pocket. I'm still looking very much around the room, and then pat it there. And look back at the innkeeper and give a little.
And he's kind of looking at you with a little bit of a bemused smile. He's like, "Alrighty then." And you begin to hear cheering from outside, and it starts to get a little louder. And pretty soon he kind of looks past. He's like, "Oh boy, here we go!" And very soon the door opens, and you see the wedding party enter. Young man, young woman, dressed in their finest for their station, come in, and there are cheers, and people file in and take tables and seats at the bar. Music begins to be played. Glasses are passed around. The innkeeper is very busy running around, helping facilitate everything. And you find yourself, very quickly going from an empty, quiet, clandestine room to a room that is packed full of joyous laughter and celebration, and toasts being told, stories being told, jokes passed around, the ever obnoxious but wonderful clinking of the glasses to get the bride and groom to kiss. It's a very different vibe than the one you just had in the last previous moments, but a very, very welcome one.
I sip my milk and bask in the warmth of the joyful wedding after party.
It goes on for a while, and eventually, if you choose to make your way to your room, you hear The revelries kind of continue for a bit and then die down as people leave. Probably around midnight or 1 o'clock in the morning, things finally wrap up.
I think by this time I'm still talking to some
Okay.
really drunk wedding goer. Just like telling them like,
No, you understand. See, the idea is that these people are literally infused with genie energy. Now, I'm not saying that actual
Here's my
mating
question.
occurred between the genie.
But little man, does that mean I get my 3 wishes?
Well, no, see, that's not how it works. See, I understand the myth, but most genies cannot even grant a single wish. You understand? You must understand. Wish is one of the most powerful spells known by anyone.
If it can't grant wishes, it's not a genie. A genie grants wishes.
Well, genie, no, see, that's another common misconception. Genie actually refers to where the being comes from and what they come. It's a kind of elemental. You see, there are planes other than this. Some of them are elemental planes, and from those planes hail all manner of.
and like just like going on this whole explanation. This person is just like, what?
This person ends up kind of almost like passing out at the bar, or like listening to you, like glazed over. It's not following. It's just hung up on the genie idea.
I'm completely oblivious to the fact that they're not getting what I'm saying.
Eventually,
Just fully-
one of his friends kind of comes over, is like, "All right, come on. We got to get him to bed. Sorry."
Oh, of course, it is. Oh, goodness me!
I check my little pocket watch.
It is quite late. Oh, yes. Have a wonderful evening, friend. Ta-ta.
See you, little genie. Walks off.
Little genie. It's not a bad nickname.
The next morning, when you come down from your room, the innkeeper is sitting at the bar with a small book open. And he seems to be kind of making some notes in it, but also like reading and flipping back and forth between papers and reading. And you just, before he notices you catch him continuing to snap his fingers, and you see different little effects happening around him as he kind of flips back and forth and continues to potentially be practicing at his magics. Good morning. Hope you slept okay after all the noise last night.
Oh, I slept like a baby. I always do.
Well, good.
It's one of my gifts, I suppose. I see here you're practicing some of the arcane arts.
Yeah, I've been. Well, it's an interesting spell with a lot of different applications, and I keep discovering new ones every time I read through it and practice. It's fascinating.
Yes, I find that magical learning is like digging a hole. Just when you think you've reached the bottom, there's another shovelful there.
I love that analogy. It's funny, I've thought a lot since we talked last night about what it would be like if I just had this ability. And I think that would be nice. But truth be told, I'm glad I learned it.
Why do you feel that way?
In some ways, it feels more like it's mine now.
Earned it.
Earned it.
Yes. Well,
But there are a lot of people out there who the help you can provide them is something that they couldn't get of themselves. And I think that, well, I don't know. I'm not I'm not the authority, but I think what you're doing is noble.
well, thank you very much. May I ask you, I noticed last night, during our conversation, you seemed to be favoring your leg.
Yeah, there's long days like this. My knee gets at me a bit.
Would you say that this is an arthritis situation, or did you suffer some sort of injury?
There was he kind of gets a little quiet. He's like, there was an injury a long time ago.
Yes. Well, look, you've been so helpful to me. How would you like it if I helped you a bit?
How do you mean?
Well, I could fashion you something that could help with your knee. To support it, you see.
Oh. I mean, it's not that bad. It's only on the long days.
Well, around here, I imagine you get all kinds of long days. It looks like, based on the design of this place, that you get visitors from all over. You must be very busy sometimes.
Sometimes very. we get
Yes.
interesting folks coming through.
And hopefully you'll be getting many more wedding parties like this last one.
True.
Hey, look, you are under no obligation to take my assistance, but I would be remiss if I did not offer it.
God, thinks for a minute. Then he takes that book and flips open to an empty page and kind of scoots over towards you and slides the book across. What would it look like?
Well, may I?
Reaching
Yes.
for the
Yeah.
and I start drawing a diagram of like this wooden leg brace with these metal parts that essentially, and as I'm drawing this diagram that could be fitted over his knee, I'm describing the process of magical infusion, and essentially I'm offering to infuse a prosthetic knee for him. It's essentially like a magical knee brace that will support his knee, and like when he needs it will basically act as his knee instead of his actual knee.
Dr. Bonnydock left yesterday, but not before giving me a brace for my knee, which was such an incredibly kind gift. Putting it on, I felt an immediate difference. I can't begin to describe what it meant to me that he would go out of his way to help. But I think that's just who he is. Someone who can't stand by when he sees someone else in need. When he sees something he can do. He knows that doing nothing is the same as doing evil. More of us should follow his example. When he left, he said he was going to search out Hoki Mukrab, the arcanist I pointed him towards. I've never met Hoki myself, but you hear whispers about those throughout the kingdom who delve deep into knowledge and magic and lore. Hopefully the two of them can help put right some of the wrongs that Dr. Bonnydock is trying to undo. I'll look forward to hearing from him again someday. Till then.